Well, I was born here in Houston and moved to the West End, where I really was raised in the 9 months after the Depression started. So my father could really pick the timing. Raised there on holiday and then went to Woodrow Wilson and then the Lanier's, Sidney Lanier, and left the 8th grade of Sidney Lanier in 1941 to join the Marine Corps, planning to make that my career and therefore having only an 8th grade education was not daunting. But anyway, the Marine Corps was going to be my career, and they'd teach me everything I needed to know, so that was all right. And that was all right for almost 4 years in World War II. But then Iwo Jima came along and I got shot and discharged, and so had to change my plans. But at that point, a series of real miracles happened for me, and I got into the University of Houston. Changed my life. I'm now a super recommender of college education because it doesn't change just who you are, it changes who you can be, you know, and so for me it made all the difference in the world. You think it's normal. You've not got any other experiences, so you know that you don't have any money to spend for anything, so all your recreation has got to be created by yourself and your friends. Then, when you get old enough to work, which is anywhere from 10 to 12 in that range, then you take what you get. My first job was as a car hop at a drugstore. I actually sat out on with a chair out in front of the thing, and when people would drive up, I'd run up and say, "Can I get your order for you," where they wouldn't have to get out of their car. And it was a well-paying job. I worked 60 hours a week, it's summer only, 60 hours a week, and it paid me $3. So I was covered up with money. But the pharmacist explained to me that I was going to get rich on tips. And actually, I probably made another $3 a week on tips. So, and that was my first job. And my last one before going into the Marine Corps was wrapping meat for a frozen knocker job. Quite a business. I was on my way to being a very successful butcher in life when the war came along. Boot camp is physically very challenging, but I was in good physical shape, so it wasn't as much a challenge for me as for the older guys. Their object is what they call, I learned later, they called strange making. They try to beat you down from whatever you were to your nothing and then bring you back the way they want you. So this beating you down to nothing is a big part of it. But I was nothing anyway, so they didn't have to beat me down at all. I was, why is that about? You know? Remember, I had been a ragtag. I was number 6 on the hand-me-downs. I had 2 brothers older and 3 cousins, and they all fit a year apart. It was amazing. And that's what the kids would kid me about, and that's why I hated it. I'd laugh and make it up with it, but I hated it. And so all of a sudden in the Marine Corps, I got the same clothes everybody got, the same food. Wow, you know, I had arrived. And then I went overseas immediately because the Japanese were taking everything in the Pacific, and so we rushed over to Pearl Harbor and got there in March of '42, so about 3 months after the war started. Before D-Day, we floated around for a couple of days off the island and saw the bombardment thing that went on. If you'd seen it, you would have assumed there's nobody alive on that island. It was 30 minutes to an hour after they hit the beach that the Japanese cut loose the first time. We realized that they're still there. And then they went on for 2 or 3 more days. The Japanese put a mortar barrage on us that was beyond anything I had ever seen or could imagine. If we just wiped us out, we had no chance of holding against the counterattack. So we then just dug in and waited for replacement. Took 2 days to get another outfit to move through us and take over. And so it just in that 2 days, had time to absorb mentally what had happened and sort of get ready to this thing is going to be the toughest one that ever happened. And after 2 days, we moved forward, but there were only 14 of us left as a company of 243 men, and 14 of us functional at this stage of the game. She came up the ward and she was crying. and she was looking for a boyfriend, and he wasn't there. And I said, you know, can I help you? And she says, I'm head of the educational unit here at the hospital, and nobody will use it, and they're going to transfer me. Would you come and take a course? And I said, you know, if I come and take a course, they'll transfer you to Siberia. And she said, no, they don't care about results, just participation. And I said, would you come take a test? Everything is going well, and about a month later, she comes run up the wall. She has a paper and a big book. She says, look at these scores, look at these scores. They grade you against the high school seniors of the nation. They give this test, and you get a percentage grade against them. And she's waving this results of mine, and it turns out that they're 297 percentile. I was about to be discharged. She says, you're going home when you get discharged? Yeah. That's Houston? Yeah. She says, where would you like to go to college? I said, because nobody in my family ever went to college. I wasn't thinking college. And she says, well, there's the University of Houston. Would you like to go there? She writes the University of Houston asking for entrance on the basis of the GED scores, writes the the Houston Independent School District for a certificate of equivalency. And then I get the letter from the Houston Independent School District that says, sorry, no certificate. It's for kids who didn't finish high school, not kids who didn't go to high school. Bless this woman's heart, though. She said, yeah, I know that, but look at this letter from the University of Houston. They expect you to have the GED, they have the certificate, but they don't say you have to have it. I said, come on. She said, read it. It doesn't say it. So on that basis, I stood in line when I got home, long, and Mr. Wilkins is signing up, and he's so busy. He's got stacks of paper around him. I get the headlines. Let me have your papers. Doesn't look at me. You know, and I hand it to let me have your certificate. I said, I don't have it. That's the first time he looked at it. He looked up at me. I explained the situation to him. I said, you know, all I want is a semester to try it. If I can't make it out, cut out. It won't cause anybody any problems. I'd just like to give it a try. And so he looked at me, looked at the letter. He said, well, what the hell? They don't say you have to have it. And I'm in. One morning, my telephone rings, and he said, hi, I'm Bill Martin. I'm chairman of the Federal Reserve Board. I said, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I know who you are. And he says, could you have dinner at my house Thursday night? Yes, sir. I didn't know where I was going to be before, but I do now. So Thursday night, yes, sir. He says, and would you mind driving yourself? Now that means don't bring a driver, it means confidential, so Washington speak. I said, yes, sir, I understand. He says, and my wife is in New York. My staff has the evening off, except for the cook, and she'll serve us drinks and our dinner, and then she has the evening off. That means dead wood. See, so yes, sir, I understand. So I put that phone down and I think, what in the world can this be? Thursday night comes and I go there and he meets me at the door. Go in, we have drinks, and I got a break at that point. The cook served us the drinks in the library. When she leaves, he said, he looks me right in the eye, he says, Bill, there's a vacancy coming up on the Federal Reserve Board. Governor Shepperson has to retire 18 months before his term is up because of civil service requirements. And I have two men that I'm recommending to the president to replace him. And every time I bring their name up to the president, he brings your name up. And either one of these two is better qualified than you. Straight on. Now, think about me for a minute right there. Think of what I've been thinking up to that point and what I'm hearing all of a sudden. He just wants me out of his way. I said, well, Mr. Chairman, if they're qualified at all, they're better qualified than I. And he laughs. And so he goes back to more chit-chat, and then at the end of the day, walking out to the car. And as I'm getting in the car, he says, Bill, I like the cut of your jib. I'm going to recommend you to the president. That was it. I was an entrepreneur for years in many, many different businesses, but I like entrepreneurship. I like the fact that it's basically a risk-reward situation. You take risk and you get rewarded. Your judgment of how big the risk going in is important to how much you can make out of it if you succeed. Because you took a risk not only with money, yours and mostly somebody else's, but you took that risk, you took the risk to your reputation. You put your reputation on the line each time. All in all, I just enjoyed the excitement of entrepreneurship. That understand what entrepreneurship really is. You understand that it's you have to have a CEO's perspective, so that you have to see the entire picture. Your view of life has got to be broader. You've got to allow for anything. Not a world that you would want, but a world that could be, and accept all risks. But you have to see all the business, and most especially you have to understand the customer. The relationship between the customer and the service or product that you're turning out is what it's all about. But then also you have to build a team. You have to be a leader. You have to include other people in it, and you have to be willing to have someone on the team that can cover your weaknesses. You must know yourself, because if you don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are, really know them, then you're in a lot of problem, because you'll have a tendency when you hire to hire people like you, which simply reinforces your strength and leaves your weakness still uncovered. So it's very important that you hire to cover your weaknesses, and therefore you got to know yourself and know what your weaknesses are.